I don't believe in goodbyes, I believe in adventures. 1, 2, 3, 4. Toxic positivity is rampant. It is everywhere, and guess what? It's not helping anyone. It's actually just creating a really tough dichotomy for people if they're constantly worrying about if what they're thinking is good or if what they're thinking is bad. And that is beneath us, because we are multi-dimensional beings and we have so much to offer ourselves. And if we stick to this good bad dynamic, then look, we're never going to grow and have the relationships that we truly desire, and we're always going to feel like what we're doing is not enough, or like we just aren't seeing things clearly. And more often than not, that's not even true. So today in day 10, what we are talking about is inspiration. The first thing I want to talk about is the difference between inspiration and motivation. Motivation is something external that provokes action, whereas inspiration is something that is internal that provokes us to think differently, grow, and really change what it is that we're thinking, doing, seeing, and believing about the world. So that being said, inspiration is going to be so much more valuable to you than motivation ever could be. And it's not that motivation is bad or wrong or silly or not worthy. We do want to have external factors at different times, but it's very important to cultivate a practice every day that sparks inspiration. So the first thing that you need to know about inspiration is that it's actually always present. Your brain is always releasing the neurotransmitters, the alpha waves and the gamma waves that are ignited when you feel inspired. But the reason why we don't feel the sensations of inspiration all the time are because we're dealing with external factors. Is carve out dedicated time to have inspiring moments. So the way that I do this is I connect with inspirational content every single day, where I am either reading a book or I am watching a video on YouTube or whatever it is. Step number 2 with inspiration is not only to carve out the time, but to not stop until you feel inspired. So if you carved out the time right in the morning, and I recommend you do this in the morning because it really sets the tone for your day. I do it right when I wake up, when I'm having coffee. I hop out of bed, I jump up and down at least 10 times. I go make my coffee, and then I sit down and I get inspired. So why is it important to do this? Because you don't always choose how you feel inspired. And for most of us, it's going to require a variety of things for us to actually truly feel inspired. Some days you might be inspired by art and music, whereas other days you might be inspired by history, or maybe biohacking or color therapy, whatever it may be. Allow yourself that freedom to not necessarily be inspired by the same thing every day, and don't judge it. Okay, now number 3 when it comes to inspiration is understanding what happens to your brain when you are inspired. So when you feel inspiration, what happens is the part of your brain that creates this, which is on the right side of your body, right behind your right ear, so that area starts releasing gamma waves, and the gamma waves start blinking. And when they're blinking, they then cause your brain to release alpha waves, and then you enter this state of neuroplasticity. So what really ends up happening is that your brain is understanding something it's never seen or understood. And what happens during that time is that your brain starts to actually restructure itself and create new connections. So it literally changes the way you think and the way you operate and the way you move forward, not just for right now, but for the rest of your life. Because once your brain makes that connection, it's very difficult to undo that connection. You might have brain fog, you might, not be eating right, but regardless, your brain has already made that connection. So it's something that you are programming into yourself. So make sure that you understand what's going on, because that will allow you to do number 4. Number 4 is to commit to a daily habit of this. Not only are you carving out the time, not only are you not stopping until you feel inspired, but you now have a reason to commit to doing it every single day, which is now number 4. So when you commit to doing this every day, think of the way that you will show up in the world. What happens in your brain when you feel inspired, and you truly are inspired, is that you start releasing dopamine and serotonin, and these are the feel-good chemicals that your brain releases that really make you feel vibrant, very self-reliant. It just shows up in a different way, where if you're not feeling the dopamine and serotonin, you're going to come off as very slumpy, you won't feel as confident, and it's really just a way to bring out the inner sunlight. So, and all of this is a very reduced form of the science that's behind it. I really encourage you to look up the exact science and do some research on your own, so that you can actually feel like you are part of understanding what it is that happens when you feel inspired. Having your own initiative of looking into these things will really help you solidify your commitment to making it a daily practice. Okay, and now, now that you've established that it has to happen every single day to really form your life and cultivate great habits, you also need to understand that the way that inspiration hits is going to be different all the time. So when you are feeling like you are in a slump, or right now we're dealing with COVID and a second wave hitting the globe, not just hitting one spot, but really like spiking things up all over, you then need to understand that some days it's going to be really hard to feel inspired. But what we do know is that you have this dopamine and serotonin rush. Number 5 is to pair your inspiration with cardio and exercise. And the reason why you want to do this is because when you are inspired, you release dopamine and serotonin. So if you have a tough time getting inspired one day, you're going to be already releasing those chemicals in your brain, and it changes your body, it changes your physiology, because you are feeling confident, you are feeling expansive, and suddenly you're able to be a little more open to having that moment of neuroplasticity and honestly growth than if you were not. So as we are heading into the second wave of COVID, or whatever it is in your life, whenever you're watching this video, you need to make sure that you are really dedicating yourself to being positive and for cultivating great habits, because we can't control the world, we never will be able to, but we can control ourselves and the way we show up. And as we collectively do this, we shift the narrative, we shift culture, and we shift what's going on in our not only communities but also just on a macro level. Because when you interact with someone who is so positive, you can't get them down no matter how much you might try. You start to just believe in that positivity yourself, and you show up and you are more open to the possibilities of what is possible, not only for yourself but also for others. So number 5 is cardio with your inspiration. and your inspiration can come from music, podcasts, whatever it is. If you do not want to go outside and do this, something I recommend is getting a mini trampoline, also called a rebounder, and get your rebounder out and then connect with your inspiration, whether it's an audiobook or a YouTube video that you watch on your television or whatever while you are jumping or doing that cardio. So this exercise is not going to be yoga. It's not going to be something where you're stretching. This is something where you are really getting your body moving and you're having the heart rate go up and you're releasing all of the endorphins and you're breaking a sweat. That's the type of workout that we're talking about in number 5. And number 6 is that when it comes to inspiration and really moving the needle on your life, make sure you write your inspirations down. So it's not enough to just have these ideas, right? Because something comes up, things happen, and you forget about it. So make a habit of writing down what inspires you. And you can either do this in a booklet, you can do it in your phone, you can do it in multiple places. Just make sure you write it down in a consistent spot and you remember to access it. So number 6 is writing it down, and number 7 is carving out an hour of your week to go over what happened when you were inspired. So you wrote all these things down and now you have it in a list and you can actually go back and review it. And when you schedule this into your life and you make a consistent habit of showing up, then you can really start to notice and piece together what is it that truly inspires me and how am I going to move forward with that knowledge in my life. And what this really does is it reveals your true values. So the reason why a lot of people don't feel inspired is because they are fighting against their own values. And when you fight against your own values, where you might say, I love having a very well kept home. That means it's nice. It is very important to me to have a clean, positive environment, and that is a value of mine. So if I pretended like I didn't have that value and I was like, you know what, I need to maybe just live in the cheapest place possible right now and who cares what it looks like, that goes against my values. So the way I'm going to show up is almost a little edgy, and I'm gonna have a chip on my shoulder and I'm gonna be grumpy, and I might say I'm inspired, but I'm not. And that's where toxic positivity comes in and destroys a lot of what people have going on and really keeps them stuck. Because if you are in a terrible home and your values are, I need to have a beautiful home with tons of sunlight, whatever, then when you stop fighting that, you can actually take action to move into a state where you are taking good care of your ugly home and you are really starting to acknowledge that, no, this is what I need. These are my non-negotiables, and these other things that don't inspire me are just whatever, not important. They're not important. And the more you get into that space of inspiration, the more you acknowledge really what it is that moves you and then helps you move the needle in your life. So that is why it's really important to get inspired every day. This was day 10. Allow yourself to connect with your values. And if you don't know what your values are, then go back to days 8 and 9 and start to take a look at what's truly important to you, and come back to this video and tell me something that inspires you. Share a link to it, because other people are going to see it as well. And when they are having low moments and they need something else to get them inspired, we can all come back here and we can start seeing what inspires each other. And then we really, really, really can support one another and be our own life alchemists. So be your own muse, be your own alchemist. That is what this channel is all about. So I will see you tomorrow for day 11. And if you can, hit like, share, and subscribe, because again, I am spending a lot of time making these videos because it's valuable stuff, and the intention is to help people feel good, feel strong, and feel empowered. We are in really terrifying times right now, and it's important for us to not think that we are alone, because we are not alone. And the internet is a great space where we can really use it for good to help each other shift into a better mental space, a better emotional space, and really just up-level every single thing.
This is Dia Sengupta from lovethealchemist.com. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me. Hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, and follow me on Instagram for inspirational content that comes out daily. I love comments. I love to hear about what you're looking for. So do not be a stranger. I love you guys.